Oops, I was muted. Okay, so imagine you are living in African country who has one of the largest oil. Okay, that was technical error. Hearing my echo. Yes, so you are living in one of Africa's largest crude oil producer, not only one of the largest in Africa, but also one of the largest in the world. In fact, it exports millions of barrels every day, crude oil export every day. And yet you are going to be hit by oil price hike because of what is happening in West Asia. In other words, because you're impacted by the US Israel Iran war. Now, we are going to unpack to this to you. Nigeria is going to face an oil price hike up to 1,000 naira. That is about 0.74 or 73 dollar, and it is increasing from 0.62 US dollar to 0.74. That is huge. It's a country where people get their minimum salary is from somewhere between 35 to 45 US dollar. So to pay for a petrol per liter 0.75 is a huge one. So in this video, I'm going to unpack for you, first of all, debunking that myth, why Nigeria is the largest oil producer, crude oil producer or exporter, and also having the largest, one of the largest in the continent, also in the world, refinery, oil refinery, that is Aliko Dangote's. And still, despite his effort to bring down the price of petrol per liter, he is going to be faced now with this oil price crisis because of what's happening in the world. But there are reasons for it that are contributing or attributing to that. Now, while I unpack that, let me just play this video. You know, this is a video where Nigerians on the street, in their day-to-day life, you know, complaining about this. It's something unexpected, of course. So now let's go. Let me explain first the myth of Nigeria, which is an oil giant with expensive fuel. How did this happen? So Nigeria is often called the oil giant of Africa, right? So the country produces huge amounts of crude oil every day, millions of barrels exporting to the world outside of Africa. So now, for decades, Nigerians have lived with a strange contradiction. It exports crude oil, and then the country imports in an expensive price refined oil from outside. So that means crude oil leaves Nigeria, and then the refined comes to Nigeria with an expensive price. So this system has created a long-standing paradox, right? So an oil-rich nation, to put it in a nutshell, an oil-rich nation with expensive petrol. So for many Nigerians, this became one of, you know, the biggest economic frustration in the country. Now let's see how Dangote Refinery came in and intervened this means. So this company was established back in was it January 2024? I think now it has been 2 years, with the amount of producing 650 barrels per day. That's how huge it is. 650 barrels of oil refining per day. So it's simple. I mean, instead of exporting crude oil and importing petrol, Nigeria could now refine its own oil locally. And then, of course, ultimately, this will reduce the price of oil in the country, strengthening the economy, you know, lowering down that buying of foreign currency in many aspects. In fact, it has enabled the country to pay its debts to some amount. Not only that, actually, Aliko Dangote has made, you know, a justice to Nigerians by bringing down the price of petrol that was around 970 or something when it came to as we speak now. Before it impacted by this war in West Asia, it was about 699 to be specific, so about 700 naira per liter. This is how he had impacted the price of petrol in Nigeria, because he's refining oil in the country and bringing that to the consumption of Nigerians. Now, guess what? It can even go down, be lowered, this price, less than 699 per liter. The reason it is not is because he is not able to buy crude oil, to get that supply of crude oil from his own country, that is the largest producers of crude oil. How so? You have this savior, let's call it a man, Aliko Dangote, establishing a refinery with $20 billion, which can produce 650 barrels per day. And then you deny him that crude oil. And guess what? He is importing crude oil from outside, as far as from the United States, as far as from Brazil, and then refining it and supplying it to Nigerians. Wow, the contradiction will just get better if you're thinking this is confusing. Okay, now let's debunk that controversy. Why oil may still rise? Look, now Dangote cannot buy oil because from his own country, because somewhere with this back and forth between him and the Nigerian the national corporation, the National Oil Corporation in Nigeria, because they have this contract for the next even 2 years or more, that they have to continue sending their raw material or raw resource, this crude oil, to those Western companies in US, in France, in the Netherlands. I mean, they are all over sitting in Western countries. Okay, so that is the reason. And guess what? When they send a refined oil, Nigerians are buying a substandard oil, a very low quality. And this is what they are putting their people up to. Okay, now, if he was able to get that crude oil, this price of oil will go even much lower than 699 naira per liter. Will go, I don't know, maybe 500 or something like that, or 400. This would have been really a relief for more than 200 millions of Nigerians on in their daily life. But it's complicated because of that. They cannot, because now, when the West Asia war, the US-Israel war comes, which is now on the 8th day, then this is affected. And guess what? Analysts are saying from the current price around 700 naira, it's going to increase to up to 1,000 naira. And that's not easy, all right? And already, while Dangote was selling 699, the government and other private oil marketers or those into oil business have been selling more than what Dangote said, like maybe 800 something. There's a difference in price. And in fact, they wanted him one time, they fought him to increase the price, because the people are turning to him. Not only it's lower price, but also it's a high quality. Now, because of all this complication, now he is faced by this war, which he cannot do anything except he has to increase the oil price because he is bringing, I say he, this Dangote Refinery is bringing their crude oil from outside. And guess what? Now the war of this US Israel Iran war is that means Iran controls the Strait of Hormuz, which is a big energy corridor. It's narrow, but it is the biggest energy corridor on daily. I think 20% of it pass through this. So that is going, when that happens, the insurance assessment, the risk and everything increases. So it is definitely affected, not only in Nigeria, by the way, also in the western part of the world as well. The thing is that Africans who are saying this war is not ours, this is your answer. Now it has impacted and it's going to knock on each and every one door. It's just by our doorstep. We need to answer. There's no way that we are going to live immune of this war. We are going to be impacted. So this is how it impacted, because the 20% of global oil shipments pass through the Strait of Hormuz, and that's controlled by Iran. And now it's war, so nobody wants to do that, and the price increases. So why Africa is feeling the heat? Because sometimes people say conflicts in the Middle East or in West Asia are not Africans' concern. Oh, really? Well, the reality today that we are living, the global economy tells you a different story. This is the time to wake up. So when oil prices rise globally, transport becomes expensive. We use petrol, for every day, in car or in gas, whatever, for cooking. So it's part of us in everyday life. So we are going to feel it. And guess what? Even the food prices, construction material, everything, because everything requires transport, right? So this is how we are affected. So the cost of living in general will rise across the continent. So Africa may not be fighting directly in these wars. Although that's also controversial, but Africa can still feel, and is feeling it actually, is feeling the heat already from day one. So Nigeria's fuel price situation is one of the clearest example, and we brought Nigeria's example, but this is happening everywhere in the continent. And because we are in the world, but here at Connect Africa, what we are concerned is about bringing that African story, owning our narration, and explaining, giving issues that are happening in the world that impacts us, giving them an African perspective, a Pan-African perspective, so people can be awakened. That is, So in conclusion, the Dangote Refinery represents a major step towards energy and independence for Nigeria. Potentially also for Africa, but it also shows how deeply global politics, oil markets, and domestic policies are connected. And as the tensions continue in global oil regions, the price Nigerians pay at the pump may still be influenced by events far beyond the country's borders. You know what? I actually want to ask the Nigerian government this, because now for the next 2-3 years ahead, they have already signed that contract. They are going to continue to export their crude oil and denying their own Aliko Dangote, who is saving literally the economy of Nigeria, denying him the crude oil. Now, I ask, are you also, Nigeria, as a government of Nigeria, increasing the price of your crude oil because of this war, or are you continuing to export with the same price that you have signed a contract? And perhaps maybe you are giving them with underprice. What is happening? Because the same thing is the same way Dangote cannot, get his crude oil, or those crude oils that he's importing are expensive, getting it more expensive. The same way also what you are selling to the US and others should be more expensive. I hope you are doing that. I mean, those of you who know this, I mean, I didn't dig that part of it, but if there is any measure taken with the crude oil that Nigeria is exporting, please let us know in the comment section. But also, I ask you, my dear viewers here, the Connect Africa family, will the Dangote Refinery eventually make fuel cheaper for Nigerians? Well, or will global oil politics always determine the price at the pump? Let me know what you think in the comments below. And also, will Nigeria, do you think it's most likely that the Nigerian government is going to increase that crude oil price on the export price? Let us know in the comment section. That was it for now. Thank you for tuning in. And next, actually, we are also going to do the part 2 of Africa feeling the heat because of what is happening in West Asia, the US, Israel, and Iran war, how it is affecting how it is affecting Africa in the airlines business. So I'm going to do part 2 of this video, which I'm going to break down another major consequence of the West Asia. That is how the war is affecting African airlines and what does it means for airline across the continent. Okay, so because a number of flights to the Middle East have been canceled to and fro. So we will take particularly a closer look at the African giant Ethiopian Airlines, how it is affected, okay? And stay tuned so that you won't miss that next video. If you haven't subscribed, go ahead and subscribe to the channel, share the video with others, and give it a like. Bye-bye.